Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Welcome, everybody. Wednesday, the 21st day of Tammuz, corresponding 4th day of July 2019. The Lighthouse Torah Project, sponsored Le'ilui Nishmat Devorah Feige Bat Shemuel, as well as Le'ilui Nishmat Ora Devorah Bat Rivka, and for the Refuah Shelema of Menachem Mendel ben Sarah Basha, and Hannah Batshani among the Holim of Am Israel. Amen. The iTorah.com live audio recording sponsored for the Shidduchim of Nehama Dina Bat Hanabatia, Eliyahu Haim Ben Esther, Sarah Simcha Bat Sofi, and Rachel Penina Bat Jenny. Would like to acknowledge the presence of many of our young members of the synagogue that are on summer break and vacation, and they're making the effort every day to come to pray with the minyan, a breakfast, stay for a few minutes in the class in the morning and in the evening. So it's a pleasure to see each and every one of you. For obvious reasons, we don't mention your name publicly, but you know who you are. So we are so happy to see everyone. Interesting enough, I'd like to speak about the main topic of today's Gemara, which is the topic of divorce. Divorce is a very unhappy and unpleasant type of topic to speak about it. We encourage people to get married. We encourage people to remain married. And definitely we encourage people to work in their marriage. And although this is perhaps not a very, thank you so much, a very pleasant to speak about it, but I think that is important that we perhaps talk about the holiness and the sanctity of marriage, and that will give us the understanding of why divorce it is not beneficial for the person. But we must be honest, and we need to understand that if the Torah brings a concept of a husband giving a get to the wife, and the wife obviously being willing and able to receive the get, so it means that the Torah understands that regretfully it could be situations that a marriage must be terminated. Obviously, as I said a few moments ago, we rather help people to remain married and not the opposite. But regretfully, sometimes it could be that that is the only way out. And as a rabbi, I'll tell you that through the years, we had come across sensitive situations or matters that regretfully a divorce was prompted. But as I said before, I rather keep people together than has v'shalom breaking people apart. The Gemara writes at the end of Masechet Gitin that when, God forbid, a person resorts to getting divorced, Mizbeach Zoreh Alav Dema'ot, even the Shamayim cries. And you may ask, why the Shamayim cries? And I think the simple and short answer is that if the marriage between husband and wife was a kosher marriage, it means that Hashem believed in the potential that these two halves had to become one soul, one neshama. Definitely, marriage, and I'm going to move now to the spiritual concept of understanding marriage, and I'm going to speak in multiple genders, sometimes male, sometimes female. I'd like to say a few things. To get married, and the ladies love this, and maybe the men don't like this, is an upgrade for the husband's neshama. Pashut. It's a pasuk in the Torah. Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado. It's not beneficial for the men to be alone. E'aseh lo ezer kenegdo. Pashut, Bereshit, Adam and Hava, I make for him an ezer, a helper, kenegdo, against them. So the obvious question is, hold on, is the wife your friend or your wife is your enemy? Don't answer. You're lucky that the video camera is pointing to me, so we'll keep it identity hidden. Unfortunately, you are correct. A marriage between husband and wife, in the relationship between husband and wife, could be great, or has v'shalom, the opposite. But I like to concentrate on the positive. To concentrate on the negative, we can always do it later. But let's concentrate in the positive. First of all, there is a mandatory requirement that a successful marriage needs to have. Obviously, respect. Respect is not negotiable. Even in the case of a disagreement, to disrespect someone is not something that is not nice to do. It is something forbidden to do. Even Gentiles, even enemies, we respect. That's a Torah concept. The Pasuk writes the famous sentence that Rabbi Akiva patented, Ve'avta le'reacha kamocha, and you love your fellow man as you love yourself. You know what our rabbis tell us, what this pasuk refers to, re'acha, your friend, your wife. If you don't respect your wife, how are you going to respect others? And somebody says, Rabbi, if you know my wife, you don't respect her. Haz v'shalom. That is not a good statement to say. That thought even should not cross your mind. Some of you may have heard the halachot that we learned today in the minyan. And we discuss the concept of ben adam lahavero. We know that in our mitzvot, besides positive and negative commandments, we have mitzvot that are related between me and God, and me and my fellow men. Me and God, put on talet, put on tefillin, say berachot, mezuzah, learn Torah, etc. But then I have ben adam lahavero. Kaved et avicha ve'et imecha. Honor your parents. Ve'avta le'reacha kamocha. Respect your wife. Be honest in your speech. Don't lie in the world of business. In other words, honesty. Don't steal, etc. And the halakha that we learned today was the importance of making someone feel good and avoiding someone feel bad. And I brought a few examples that the halakha brings down. And I repeat them, because there I said it in Spanish for the Spanish minyan. But I'm going to say it in English now. So one halakha says, let's say that someone tells you, I bought an apartment. I'm so happy, close to the synagogue. How much you paid? Let's say the person says $3.99. And the person is so happy, and now you want to be a met. And you're going to tell them you overpaid. They ripped you off. How does this person feels? Not good at all. So you know what the halakha says? I'm so happy for you. Mabruk. We hope to see you in the shul now. That's it. Let the excitement and the happiness of this person to continue. Or let's say that another person, another case the halakha brings down, a person who says, you know what I do? Every time I get a paycheck, he says, I give 10% ma'aser. And then in your mind you say, what's the big deal? I'm doing this for 10 years already. Or instead of giving 10%, I'm giving 15%. In other words, you have what to say, but saying that, you're going to deflate the person. The halakha says, better stay quiet. Let him be. We're not saying no avon. We're not doing something wrong. We're not lying. We're not doing nothing. We just keep the happiness of the person alive and well. Some of you were here Shabbat night, Friday night. Yes, bilingual speech. We got to take care of all of our members, all of our visitors. But I'm going to tell you in a nutshell what I said that night. Interesting enough, in last week's Torah portion, we came across two people, Balak and Bilam. Who was Balak and who was Bilam? Short answer. Bilam related to Lavan. Balak related to Lot. And what makes the story of their parasha more challenging, that these two individuals, their forefathers, Lot and Lavan, became great thanks to Abraham and Yaakov Avinu. Abraham redeems Lot. Remember the famous story when Og informs Abraham that Lot was kidnapped? What does Abraham do? Goes and rescues Lot in the war. So meaning to say that the salvation of Lot is owed to Abraham Avinu. Yaakov and Lavan. You know, when Yaakov arrived to the house of Lavan, Lavan had only daughters, no sons. And Lavan was an average person. Lavan became the father of boys, and Lavan became very wealthy in the merit of Yaakov Avinu. So what do you think in your mind? Hakarat Tov. Hakarat Tov means what? Gratitude. To be thankful. And yet, what do they act? Kafui Tova. Kafui Tova in English means to be an ingrate. In Spanish, it's called desagradecido. The Torah tells us, ingrato, thank you. The Torah tells us the opposite. You need to be grateful. You need to be thankful. Not only to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in your home, in your business, with the valet. And guess what? Although this may sound simple baby steps, but the more a person develops baby steps in the world of midot, which means refinement of the character of the person, self-improvement, the better and the more peaceful and the more bountiful the life of the person will become. And the books of the Shalom Bayit tells you, where is your first homework when it comes to self-improvement of midot? Your home, your marriage. Because your best assets are in your home. The assets are not the buildings and the properties. That is the financial asset. But what is the best investment of the life of the person? The children, the marriage. Where do we learn this from? From the Haggadah of Pesach. The Pasuk says, Be'et amalenu elu habbanim. My biggest investment and my biggest effort must be invested in the well-being of my children. Not only physical, not only health, not only medical or financial, but spiritual and emotional. Today, spiritual and emotional, you cannot split them. Today is a combination package. As I was telling a dear friend of mine, it says in the olden days, parents had the liberty and the power to say anything and everything they wanted. Today, generations are a bit different. And we all change. It doesn't mean that the children change and we didn't change. Many of us were born a couple of years back when life was simpler, calmer, right? You remember? Happier, more relaxed. Now we live constant stress. We want gratification. We need instant gratification. We need instant result, instant coffee, instant messages, instant delivery, Amazon same day delivery. I'll tell you what it says in the holy books, and I must say this now. If a person doing a mitzvah suffers pain, so to speak, that moment is like a person is offering an olah sacrifice to Hashem in the Bet HaMikdash. But this is only in an accidental fashion. It's if a person, let's say, he brought me hot water, and now a bit spilled on his hand, so now he feels the pain. Or let's say you want to do a mitzvah, and a person the other day tried to open the hechal, and somehow it put the finger in a nail. Okay, Baruch Hashem, nothing happened, a miniature cut, and it was bleeding. So it says in the Sefarim HaKedoshim that when a person does a mitzvah and accidentally something happens, at this moment is considered like if he came to the Bet HaMikdash and offered a korban olah, a full offering to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Olah means the type of sacrifice that nothing stays for the people and everything is burned in the Mizbeach. So thank you and mehila for the hot coffee and the hot water. Now I have a halachic question. Somebody brought me a coffee and somebody brought me hot water. Now, if I say beracha on the hot water, the one from the coffee is not going to be happy. If I say beracha on the coffee, the guy from the hot water is not going to be happy. So what beracha do I say? So I think the answer is I need to mix both of them, like they do in the Shiva Berachot. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. That's it. 3 times. And we're going to say a beracha now. Thank you so much. Baruch אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. It's like the books of Shalom Bayit say, comes Shabbat table. We say Shalom Aleichem. We say Eshet Hayil. Why Eshet Hayil was established to be recited every Friday night? Short answer, I pisechel, because I think that our Hachamim say, I'm sure that the wife prepares the meal for every day of the week. Hakarat Tov, Hazaku Baruch. But Shabbat, that she's been working for several days and prepares the table and set up everything, the least we can do is to say, I recognize your effort. But it's important also to make sure that we don't make a comment that can bring down all the Hakarat Tov. Imagine yourself the following scenario. You tell your wife, oh, nice table, nice meal, but what happened? Why this is missing from the table? You understand? So now you suddenly, right, whatever you built, you destroyed. So it is not on the table, okay. Not a big deal. Believe me, there are people, I'm sorry to say this, that may not have the Shabbat table that we have. Or for many reasons, being alone, being single, not being able to afford what many people can afford. So the books of Shalom Bayit says, take the Shabbat table experience to build and not, God forbid, the opposite. Amen. Not only that, the Zohar brings down an interesting story that I spoke about this maybe a year ago. when it came to Hanukkah or Perashah Beha'alotecha. The Haftarah of that Perashah refers to a concept of how a Kohen Gadol was saved from a fire, but his garment got burned. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin explains that this Kohen Gadol was a super holy man, and that's the reason that he was saved. So then the Gemara asks, if he was saved, why his garment got burned? So the Gemara concludes that the garments of the person, the levush of the person, is categorized in three different aspects of life. In a physical way, the garments that covers the body. That's the reason why Rabbi Moshe Cordovero in Tomer Devorah writes that a person must treat the garments properly. Properly. Why? Because we owe gratitude to the garment for making us look clean, making us look elegant, protecting us in the winter, protecting us in the rain, protecting us when it's very hot. That's what he writes in Tomer Devorah. Kavod to the garment. But it goes further. The Zohar says there is another levush called the levush of the neshama. The garments of the soul of the person. There are two levels of garments, the Zohar says. Mizvot and averot. That's why every day in the morning, how does Birkot HaShachar starts? Elokai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Ata berata ata yesarta. Tehorahi. In other words, we get a clean neshama. Our mission is to come back home tonight with a clean neshama, with a clean shirt, etc. But parallel to that, there is more chairs here available. Parallel to that, there is an additional neshama garment called the averot. The mitzvot and the averot. That's it. You know, if I spill water on my shirt, not a big deal. But if I spill coffee on my shirt, it is a big deal. So the Zohar says there are two kinds of garments. The water, which is the mitzvot, and the color marks that are the averot. But comes the Gemara in Sanhedrin and it says there is a third garment in the life of a person. And you know how the Gemara calls this garment? Banim, children. That's how the Gemara answers why the garments of Yoshua Kohen Gadol became soiled at the bottom of the garments. Why? Because it says the length of the garments represents the length or the extension of the person. Who is your extension? Who is my extension? I'm not going, who is my background? I know who my background is. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, all the way to Abraham Avinu. But who is my extension? My children. And that's why the Haggadah says, Amalenu elu habanim. You know what does it mean, the word Amalenu? Amalenu means to toil, not to work. Amalenu means you roll up the sleeves and you work hard. And you don't know the end of your efforts. You're not going to see the results maybe 20 years from now, 30 years from now. As one great rabbi said, how do you know if you were a successful father, if you have good grandchildren? Meaning to say that we were able to deliver to our sons and our daughters the tools for them to deliver it to their own children. And then we see retroactively the result. So another statement from a different rabbi says, How do you know if you were a good Jewish father? If you have Jewish grandchildren? You follow me? In other words, don't think for a moment that because we may be okay, that our mission has been accomplished. You're in the middle of the game, and you have a race against you. Social environment, peer pressure, what goes around, what happens through the world, social media, which is good in many ways, but it's a source of a headache in many other ways. And that's one of the reasons why there are many prayers that a person does throughout the day. And I'm going to say something that I said to someone that called me from Israel with a particular situation with a child. And I said to this person, number one, stop talking. He says, I talk, and he doesn't listen. I said, of course, because you're doing it all wrong. He says, why, I shouldn't talk? I said, yes. You can only talk if you're going to say something positive. If you're going to start criticizing every 2 seconds, what's going to be? Running away. This is the reality of today. And I said to this person, we're talking about someone that is 19, 20 years old. Every night your son sleeps at home, it's a victory for you. Because many times, kids says, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm running away. And believe me, there are going to be plenty of friends that are going to encourage that move. God forbid. I hope that no one faces this challenge, because lo aleno velo alechem, it's very difficult when it's out of the house. But let's go back. So this person asked me, so what do I do? I said, number one, positive reinforcement. Good things. Number two, something that you must do every day. He says what? Hazaku Baruch. You need to pray. You don't pray only for parnasa. You don't pray only for refuah shelema. You need to pray for the children, our grandchildren. And it doesn't matter who you are. There is no insurance policy, Rabotai. Oh, I'm so and so, I'm protected. Although there is an insurance policy available, doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to get a medical checkup. It's actually part of our daily prayers. There is a hidden insurance policy in the prayer of Uba Lesion. And this insurance policy can only be activated if we activate it. You need to activate the policy. How do you activate a policy? You need to pay a premium. You can apply for insurance. It doesn't mean that the insurance will be active. You need to pay the premium. Once you're approved, you pay the premium. Some cases they tell you, pay the premium, and then we'll reimburse you if for some reason the application was not approved. I'm not in the insurance business, but as a human being, we all need to have insurance, right? Insurance of the car, insurance of the apartment, insurance of life, insurance of health, etc. So comes the pasuk in Ubale Sion Goel, and it says as follows: Lo yamushu mipicha, o mipi zar'acha, o mipi zera zar'acha, amar Hashem me'ata ve'ad olam. This refers to the Torah. The Torah will not be departed from your lips. Mipicha means from your mouth. Umipi zar'acha, and from your children, your descendants. Umipi zera zar'acha, and from your grandchildren. So we have 3 generations. Me, my children, my grandchildren. Amar Hashem me'ata be'ad olam. God says, if you make the effort of having 3 generations continuity, I will help you that this will remain alive till Mashiach comes. It's an unbelievable guarantee, but we must apply. It's not enough that we learn Torah, but our children learn Torah. And we encourage our children that the grandchildren learn Torah. This is the reason why there is a new thing that many grandparents are doing. They are saving money to help their children pay the tuition of the grandchildren. You follow me? In the state, great idea, you like it? In the state of Florida, there is a college plan called 529. 529. Basically, you lock in the cost of 4-year tuition in the state of Florida, and then when you need to use it 20 years from now, you already have this policy in place. Is it worth it or not? Speak to your financial advisor. I know many people who bought it, who saved the money, but it never benefited because the grandkids didn't stay in Miami, they went elsewhere, and once you leave the state, then you got to pay full price. So instead of covering 4 years of tuition, it covered only 25 credits in New York, for example. You follow me? But people, I know this for a fact, they are doing this to help the grandchildren tuition. Because we must be honest with ourselves. One of the biggest challenges that the new parents have is tuition. Big time. And I pay tuition for the past 20-some years. Not 25 years ago, for the past 25 years. You understand? So I do know and I do see how it was 25 years ago and how it is today. And today's topic is not the topic of tuition. That is a whole different ballgame. But we understand that why it is important to invest in tuition, because what the home provides alone is not enough. What the school provides alone is not enough. So the school and the home, they supplement each other in order to, be'ezrat Hashem, all the years of education and a mandatory requirement, an example at home. Because if the kids get in school good, positive messages, but they come home and the home does not support that education, so to speak, so then we are confusing the children. And then, we are fighting an uphill battle. And that's why I said this a long time ago, but it's important perhaps to repeat it, that a good segula, a good spiritual benefit for the Jewish education in the school should be productive and successful is for the parents, and especially the father, not to complain about tuition cost and not to complain against the teachers or the rabbis of the school. Because the moment that we do that, as a great rabbi said, we are sending a very negative message into the mind of the children. And even though you may say, Rabbi, my son doesn't understand, he's only 6 years old. Guess what? The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot calls the child as a sfog, as a sponge. Whatever the child is exposed to, it absorbs. Like we always encourage people to surround themselves with good people, happy people, healthy people, good environment, the children also need to have a good environment, a loving environment, a caring environment, a positive environment. But if, God forbid, going back to the initial opening statement of the shiur of today, when it exists the mutual love and respect between husband and wife, guess what? You're setting up a beautiful foundation for the children. Because many, many times, the drama that the children go by, part is the fault of the parents. And we're not blaming all the parents, Haz v'shalom. But if a child sees how husband and wife talk to each other, Do you expect the child to respect you when he sees you, how you speak to people? When he sees how you speak to your friends or to your relatives and the type of language or vocabulary that is being used? It's never too late. There is someone in the room that is in the best position of everything that we just said today. Someone that is not even a week old married. We keep his identity hidden. Mazal tov. But all the life is ahead of him and his wife to build a beautiful home. So, the question you may ask is, Rabbi, I wish I knew this 20 years ago. I wish I knew this 5 years ago. I wish I knew this 50 years ago. Guess what? One of the beautiful things from our Torah is that it's never too late. You know, like the famous story of, I think, Rabbi Israel of Salan, that says, as long as the candle is burning, I can work. As long as the heart of the person is functioning, the mind is functioning, the body is functioning, it's never too late. But in order to activate the remedial aspect of what we say, there is a mandatory requirement that needs to be fulfilled for a successful teshuvah. Because there is teshuvah between husband and wife. Like there is teshuvah between children and parents. For example, there is such a thing. The Halacha writes that in Erev Kippur, right, the parents bless their children. We all know this. Open any mahzor, you have the special prayer. But you know what else the Halacha says? The parents should forgive their children, even though that the children did not ask for forgiveness. Why? Because you don't want the sin of disrespecting parents should be blinking in the children's account in the day of Yom Kippur. You follow? There is a blinking light. Like in the car, you have a sensors. So there is a sensor open. It's called, you did not ask forgiveness from your parents. Erev Kippur. So you know what the Halacha says? Preemptive strike. You forgive them. Once you forgive them, it's like teshuvah. You know, the Zohar says elsewhere, we all love to say Yehishem. No Anna. Correct? You say Yehishem, especially Monday and Thursday, we are super happy. Where is the Hatan? Come tomorrow. Okay, Thursday.
So why did we say Tahafut today?
Maybe he prayed in a different minyan. Okay, if it's tomorrow 8:15, Yehishem. Okay? Now you're going to go, all of you are going to go to the 8:15 minyan. No, all the minyanim continue on the regular schedule. Now he's going to go to a different shul tomorrow. Maybe they're paying more. Anyways, going back to reality. You know, one of the benefits of saying vidui is, you know what is the benefit, the Zohar says? That if God forbid, somehow in the middle of the day, there is an accusation against a person. Borei Olam says, yes, I already know, he told me earlier today. Can you imagine that? That is what the Zohar Kadosh says. God says, yes, I know, he told me. Once I'm telling you about something, let's say, Rabbi, did you hear this? Yes, he came and he told me the situation. How do you feel? Much better. This is the benefit of the vidui, the Zohar says. Even though you may say, Rabbi, I didn't do half of the sins that the vidui says. By the way, this was, I think, a story that happened in the time of the Maimonides. I believe, I'm 70% sure, that one fellow came to him and it says, Rabbi, half of these averot I never did. So the Hida explains, I don't know what was the answer of the Rambam. I think the Rambam says to him, still say it. But the Hida explains that when we say the Tahanunim, interesting, the Hida points out that all this is written in plural. Asham nu, Bagad nu, Gazal nu. Why don't I say Asham ti? I did, I stole, I spoke, I neglected. We say we. Who is we? You know what the Hida says? You, meaning us, whoever does not pray, our wife and children, and all of our previous reincarnations, who may have open invoices from previous lives, and their arrival to the ultimate level of Gan Eden cannot be achieved because of traffic. So when we say this prayer, the Hida says, we are paving the way. That's the reason why we say the vidui, our daily confession prayer for the English audience, in a plural way. We means all of the above. Anyone connected to me. I have a lot of people connected to me. Parents, brothers, wife, children, grandchildren. This is on the physical. But what about my neshama? Who knows who my neshama was many years back? According to what we know already from Rabbeinu Ha'ari, all men's souls are repeat customers. Ladies, a different ball game. As I said in the opening statement of the class, marriage is a promotion for the husband. The wife, technically speaking, doesn't need to get married. But wife wants to get married. That's the way Hashem created the world, to bring children to the world, to populate the world. But from a spiritual perspective, the books of the Shalom Bayit says one more thing, that through marriage, the true midot of the person come to the surface. Meaning to say, if you're not married, if you're a single person, you don't feel the need to change. You are by yourself. Nobody's telling you what to do. But once you get married, you learn to be more merciful, more kind, more patient, more tolerant, more giving. But if, God forbid, a person gets married, and instead of doing all of the good above moves, he does completely the opposite, then you have war at home between husband and wife. 1 minute, please. Recording live. Mehila. And that's the reason why the Gemara says, Ish beisha zachu, shechina sheruya benehem. The husband, and the wife is the wife. There is godliness between them. The yod of the husband, the he of the wife. You have kah, Hashem's name in their marriage. But if the husband is not a husband, and the wife is not a wife, so the letter yod leaves, the he leaves, you have esh, fire and fire. And what happens when you combine two fires? You have an explosion. And that's why the Gemara says, the husband supposed to take care of the wife, honor the wife, respect the wife, love the wife. And guess what? According to the holy books of Shalom Bayit, the better the husband is as a husband, it will be reciprocity from the wife to the husband. And I clarify to the wonderful female audience watching. I know that based on the names that I see sometimes popping up in the screen, that it takes two to tango. Correct? As much as perhaps part of this shi'ur may have been geared on the necessary behavior that a husband must have at home, I'll tell you a story that I had to deal with a few months ago. What was the case? The husband complaining against the wife. Usually, I get the wife complaining about the husband. In this case, the husband complaining about the wife. And I ask him, and he says, your wife is a wonderful lady. I see her in shul, comes to praise, the kids are beautiful, nice. He says, Rabbi, you don't know her. He says, she has two faces. One she's in the shul, and one she's at home. I said, okay, we believe that. There are many people who have double face, unfortunately, okay? And that's what we say in our daily prayers. It says, may you be a God-fearing Jew at home like you're on the street. On the street, we are supermen, we are tzaddikim, we are perfect. In the shul as well. Once we come home, okay, next. So I asked him, what complaint do you have against your wife? He says, very simple. She puts me down constantly. Anything I say, anything I want to do, she uses the worst derogatory words to stop me. Irrelevant if she's right or not, we all agree that that kind of words to a husband or to a spouse, doesn't matter what the gender is, it doesn't build the person. And if you need to say something to stop something or to change the mind, there are ways of how to do it. You understand? There are ways of how to do it. Say, you know what? The idea sounds good, but I believe that maybe this and this could be an issue. Check it out. But if you're going to tell the spouse, forget about it, it's a guaranteed failure, because everything you do, you ruin, or you're a Shaina Mazel, or Hazit case, like they say in Arabic. You understand the difference, right? Shaina Mazel is in Yiddish. Yani your mazal is ruined. You're good for nothing. That's Chas v'shalom. It's not nice to say. To say to somebody a Shaina Mazel means that you are no luck. You are, whatever. Tiro al aire in Spanish. Failure in English, right. Chas v'shalom, to say such a thing. So I spoke to the wife, and he said, your husband loves you. You got to sell it. You got to sell it. Your husband loves you, and it's true. And the husband knows that you take care of the house, you take care of the children, and you do a lot of things. But that there is an area that I believe that you have the key to solve the problem. And you know what the beautiful part of this conversation was? With the husband in front of her, that she recognized her deficiency. She recognized her mistake. She says, Rabbi, I get very excited sometimes, and I say a lot of things that later on I realize that it was completely inappropriate, was completely unacceptable to say. I said, I'm very happy to hear that you have these feelings. But I said to them, we are not thinking about the bigger picture here. In your mind is, my wife puts me down, Chas v'shalom. But what about the children that are witnessing, that are listening? You know what the mother said to me? Rabbi, you are right. I was wondering why my children lately are screaming at each other in a way that it never happened I said, this is the reason why. It creates a domino effect. Even though the kids don't understand about business, and maybe some of the words that are being utilized may not be in their vocabulary, but the fact that they see how there is this confrontation, so to speak, at home, and name calling at home, what do you expect the children to absorb? It's like a mother that is nursing. What they tell you, a mother that is nursing, she needs to be calm. She needs to be in a quiet place. You go to the airport now, you see special booths, right? That the mother goes in and nurses the child in a quiet booth. Why they do it? Because the nursing of the child, the nourishment of the child from the mother's milk is dependent upon her happiness and calmness. Like kosher food influences, the mind, the state of mind, and the emotion influences. So then we are able to understand, and this will finish today's class, Be'ezat Hashem, why so much emphasis is the Torah giving on the education of the children, why the guardman, going back to the story of Yoshua Kohen Gadol, he was a Kohen Gadol. He wasn't a regular person. But what happened? His children married wives that a Kohen were not allowed to marry. So why do you blame the father? And don't you talk about the children? You know what the Gemara says? Because the father neglected the education of the children. He was a Kohen Gadol. Ribono shel Olam. Does he have a better justification than being a Kohen Gadol? You're in charge of all of Am Israel. And yet the Gemara says, yeah, but what about your children? These are your priority. The happy ending of the Gemara, which is found in Gemara Sanhedrin, and this originates from Zechariah Navi, chapter 3, is that he did teshuvah. This Kohen Gadol. What teshuvah did he do? He started to spend time with his children. They were married. And one at a time, he spoke to them. They divorced their forbidden wives, and they remarried with kosher wives suitable for the Kohanim. That is one of the topics that we learned last night in the Daf Yomi, that there are certain things applicable to Kohanim only that are not man-made, are God's given. Eating terumah, eating certain korbanot, a heightened level of holiness, who can they marry, they cannot marry. But I'd like to finish with the following statement. Although this story happened with a Kohen Gadol, Yoshua Kohen Gadol, but we need to remember that we are all Kohanim. It's actually a pasuk in the Torah. Hazak Baruch. Be'atem tiyuli mamlechet Kohanim begoy kadosh. Every Yehudi is a Kohen. Some are Kohanim by birth, and some are Kohanim in their mission statement. What's the mission statement of a Kohen? To get closer to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to bring a Kadosh Baruch Hu closer to people. That's what the Kohen is in a way. You know, the Kohanim bless us, the Kohanim offer the Korbanot. That is on the technical aspect of what does it mean being a Kohen by birth or not. But the mission is the same. Shortening the gap between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And part of the tactic and part of the strategy is marriage. Another strategy, Irat Shamayim. Another strategy, Ben Adam LaHavero, interpersonal relationship. You know, many times people are very holy in their godly relationship, but they are not careful with their interpersonal relationship. And this is one of the messages of the Gemara in Gittin, and that is one of the messages of the Zohar. It says, you cannot separate them. They both connected. And that's the avodah of the Omer is Ben Adam Lahavero. The avodah of Ben HaMesarim is Ben Adam Lahavero. Yes, we have a lot of halachot given by our Hachamim in order for us to feel a sense of the sadness. What does it mean not to have the Bet HaMikdash? Do we really feel what does it mean? I don't think so. Why? Because we never saw it. And by the time all of us were born, was already 1800 years missing, or 1900 years missing. But we have the emunah, and we have the neshama. The neshama longs for Mashiach's arrival. Ki lishoatecha kivinu kol hayom, bonei Yerushalayim, mimisraim ge'altanu. All these prayers keep the flame alive. But the Gemara mentions clearly that Ben Adam lahabero, enhancing our relationship with our fellow men, and starting from the home. Don't start from the street unless your home is in the right track. If Baruch Hashem, things at home between you and your wife have a good, caring, loving, wonderful relationship, Chazak Baruch, you should dance every day. You should dance every day. Not every case is the same. But once that is okay, children. Once that is okay, your relatives, your parents. Once that is okay, start going outwards. Not like the person who complained about the spouse. My husband does hesed for everyone except for me. What do you think that happens to all these heseds that a person does? Almost zero. I'm not at liberty to say really zero because I did not get approval, from the higher sources. But I think if we read between the line is your wife needs you at home. Your children need you at home. You need to cannot be absentee management, absentee parenting. I did it in my early years. I was an absentee parent. Why? Because I was dedicated to community work. L'shem shamayim. Guess what? Until a rabbi came and scolded me. And it says, you're missing the point. Sure, you serve the community. Sure, you devote yourself to the community. But if you don't devote yourself to your wife and kids, how are you going to be able to devote yourself to the community? Find time for your wife and kids, and find in between time, community time. This was told to me a few years back. Once I learned from my own mistakes, L'shem Shamayim, and I was willing to listen, because I was going through a couple of hiccups, if we can leave it at that. And he says, I don't understand. I do so much. I'm Superman. Maybe Superman today is old-fashioned. Give me somebody else, whatever. Okay? Still alive? No. Oh, which one? Okay. Anyways, alav shalom. I know that he died, right? Okay. Anyways, Rabotai, I think the message of today, it's loud and clear. Let's hope and pray. And continue praying. Pray for your wife, for your family, for your kids. And Be'ezat Hashem, everybody will be blessed with a very happy, joyous, and meaningful way of life. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות